Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. It's great to have you with me here today on this Motivation and Mindset Monday. Can't wait to get into today's show topic, one that I've been interweaving into many podcasts over the past couple of years. And for the very first time, I wanted to give it its own due, its own show. And I learned this saying, this actual quote from Deepak Chopra. It's been about a decade, probably a little bit more now. I would say, yes, now it's been more than a decade. But when I was really studying deep into Ayurvedic medicine, I bought a lot of books, bought a lot of audio-based recordings of Ayurvedic and older Ayurvedic-based philosophy. So not just on what to do, but the actual philosophy of Ayurveda. I think a lot of times we get too caught up in what to do rather than what are the deeper meanings of this, because if we understand the deeper meanings, then we can make better connections in life. But if we only know do this when this happens, we don't know always the basis for why we do the very things that we want to in life in order to get those results. So today I want to talk about this phrase in Ayurvedic teachings and basically Vedic teachings called infinite flexibility. And how Deepak Chopra put it was this, is that infinite flexibility is the secret of immortality. And it's funny because when I say that, no one has any idea what I mean. And I get it too, because the very first time I heard it, I had no idea what Deepak Chopra was talking about. I said, okay, infinite flexibility is the secret of immortality. And I said, okay, immortality means long life or never dying? Is that what he's talking about? And then what is this infinite flexibility? Well, when you get deeper into the teachings of the Vedanta and the Vedic teachings, what you're looking at is that, and I actually mentioned it because this is from Chinese medicine as well. I did a show on Wu Wei, and what that is that it's how you move through life. You can move through life like water, or you can move through life like a wrecking ball. And I think too many of us are that wrecking ball or the bull in that, that China glass shop where you're just knocking things over and breaking things, and then you have to pick them back up and put them back together. Well, sometimes you need to know when to go with the flow. And there are times when you do need to push, there's no doubt about it. And there's much more often, though, the case is that you need to know how to be the water. And that's what I want to talk about today, is that this does not preclude you from setting your goals and becoming a goal achiever, not just a goal setter, which a lot of people are, but a goal achiever. Okay, so I want that for you. I've done many shows on that. I do hope that you've checked them out. So it does not preclude you, it does not stop you from wanting to go after your goals in life. But what it does mean is that you're leaving yourself more open to life's mysterious ways as you move through this journey that we call life, through your human being experience. So for example, when I got sick many years ago at 17 years old, I had no intentions of going into naturopathy or integrative health. It never knew what it was. And I don't know if it's obvious to everyone, but think about this. Over 20 years ago, if let's say you're in your mid to later 30s and beyond, right? So you can at least recall what 20 years ago was. If you're 20, not going to be ideal, right? Or even 25. But think about it. There was no real functional medicine being talked about. There was no naturopathy being talked about, maybe a little bit of acupuncture, maybe a little bit of, alternative, again, I use that in air quotes, medicine, but very little. And what happened was, with the sharing of information with the internet, now people could find out more about all these methodologies, and not only that, how well they actually work, because we have the science behind them. So we have the studies for those people that are skeptics showing and proving that this works. But before the internet existed, people were still sick, and I was one of those people. So I had no idea about this form of medicine. All I knew was conventional medicine. You get sick, you go to your doctor, they give you antibiotics. That was the extent of what I thought medicine was. And to be honest, that's the extent to what most people believe medicine is. You get sick, you go to your doctor, they prescribe you a pharmaceutical. That's it, like for the rest of your life. That's just the way that it is. Well, there's obviously so much more to it. But I had no idea about it. I wasn't into it. When I was in high school, I was just into playing sports. I was into fitness. I was into nutrition. That's it. So that's the extent to what I was into. But my nutrition wasn't about health-based foods. It was about macros and calories, which, again, what are people talking about to this day? They're still talking about macros and calories, right? I mean, that's honestly what we're dealing with. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. Because the majority of the industry is saying, oh, like if registered dietitians, they tell them just have kids and athletes drink chocolate milk after their workout. It's completely insane. It's completely ridiculous. Casein is the number one food sensitivity, or dairy, cow's milk's the number one food sensitivity out there. It's very hard to digest. It can cause intestinal-based discomfort. If you have any SIBO, any antibiotic use in the past, birth control, if you have candida overgrowth, all that's going to cause fermentation in your gut. You're going to have digestive-based issues. So it's so surface level. Even, again, in the best schools are teaching this. So that's why if you don't hear me preach all this value a lot of times of all this higher education, it's because a lot of times you need to unlearn it. I mean, think about all the brilliant medical doctors we have out there. And again, we're so lucky to have them for acute-based conditions where it's life-saving, where if we didn't have them and we didn't have technology, many people could die. So truly grateful for that. But what about for everything else? All chronic-based sickness, all true nutrition. How many people out there are preaching a high antioxidant, plant-based nutrition based on the longest lived and healthiest people in the world? But hardly anybody. Like, that's the problem. That's what we're dealing with today. Now, it's getting a little bit better because there are more voices out there that are unbiased saying that I don't care who's right. Here's what the real research says. I'm not going to skew it to promote some type of product or whatever it is. And then you can just, again, this is what I believe in. I believe in giving all the information away for free. That's it. And I know not everyone can do that because their business might actually be selling information. So I get it. I truly understand that. And that makes sense. So I get that. And I don't want to say that that should not be the case for everyone. What I'm looking to do, though, is simply have a voice for those people maybe that they can't afford to understand or they don't have time to read or whatever it might be, is just saying, here's what the data says. Here's what it also backs up in clinical practice. But to just get back to my original point, none of this was a passion of mine. Okay, none of it at all. I got extremely sick. And I say not anyone made me. I was someone that I was thrown a curveball in life. There's no doubt about that. I did not expect it. It was not something that I had ever planned. But here's what happened. I was highly stressed. I was also working a lot my senior year of high school as well. I was training like exercise-wise. I was trying to study hard to do well in school and finish strong. I was taking my SATs. I was applying to college, relationships, all of those things. And then I was on 3 years of antibiotics for some mild skin-based issues. But of course, my whole childhood was antibiotics. It would have been a good year if I had only been on antibiotics 4 or 5 times. That's the truth. And at the same time, I was eating, after school, I would go and buy some Arizona iced tea, some sugary soft drinks. I would eat ice cream. I would do all of those things. Not knowing, I wasn't purposely trying to make myself sick. I was not. I would never do that to myself. But here's the deal. Nonetheless, I did. So it wasn't on purpose, but I made myself sick, okay? I might not have chosen to take the antibiotics, but my dermatologist said, take these because they'll help with acne. And you know what? They probably did, but at the detriment of my entire immune system and gut because they wipe out a lot of your good gut bacteria. And that gut bacteria and your intestinal tract in general and all of the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, etc., make up about 70 to 80% of your immune system. So if you lose that, good luck trying to get well. It took some time then to get that back. So I filled up my rain barrel with all of the stress, the overwork, the antibiotics, and the bad food choices. It was too much of everything, right? And that was the problem. But the other bigger issue is this. I tried to fight it the whole way along the way once I got sick. And that was a big part of why I stayed sick for a long time. And that's why I'm sharing this with you today. Is that a lot of times in life, You might not be dealing like a sickness that I was many years ago. You might be dealing with a relationship issue. You might be dealing with a spirituality-based issue. You might be dealing with hardships with children or parents. You might be dealing with a career that you just really don't like and that you're stuck in and that you hate every day going to work. You might be dealing with weight gain-based issues or weight loss. What if you can't put on the weight? What if you can't take off the weight, right? So there's two different ways to look at that. So everyone has their own struggle in life. And I think that's really important to recognize. One quote that I also love is that, we have to be kind to everyone that we meet and not judge because we don't know what they're silently struggling with, at least that day. So somebody might have cut you off in traffic. They might, have been rude to you at a store that you were in. You don't know what just happened 5 minutes before that. And you certainly don't know what's going on with their home life or their mental affairs as well. So that's why in life, we need to sometimes be able to roll with those punches. But a lot of the examples I just gave you, whether it is the relationships, it's the weight gain, it's the health, it's the spirituality or a career, whatever it might be, is that we're all dealing with our own struggles at our own time. Sometimes it is better to be the water. It is better to be a little bit more liquid where you're able to roll with the punches. When I say roll with the punches, it's a boxing or martial arts term where someone's throwing a punch and you're not trying to block it. You're actually just rolling to the side and then rolling to the other side. So the other person, let's say life, is expending all the energy, but not you. You see it coming and you're just moving with it. And so the reason I want to pass this on to you is that I fought it for at least 4 or 5 years. And that's why it was hard for me to get well. And it's because I felt like the victim. I was angry and I was upset and I was depressed and I was anxious and all the things that you don't want to be and you can't feel as you're trying to get healthy. And the reason is that if you have that anger inside of you, if you have that much upset in you, it affects your immune system. It honestly does. It actually starts to shut down major parts of the immune system because your body is hopped up on adrenaline and on cortisol. And that means you're going to be lowering your secretory IgA, your first line defense with your immune system. But not only that, you're poisoning your body with the byproducts of all that adrenaline and all that cortisol. And when that happens, you're going to lower DHEA, you're going to lower testosterone, you're going to convert more potentially to estrogen. There are so many issues that happen with the body that the first thing that we have to do is just say this. Listen, I don't know why life put this in front of me because for the most part, life is a bit of a mystery, right? I don't know for sure. Maybe you can tell me, maybe you could share with me what is going on right now. Like, what is this thing that we're living? Because I don't think that we, each and any one of us, have truly any idea. I have my thoughts, and I'm sure I'm share with those with you in the future, and I kind of do throughout all of these Mindset and Motivation Mondays. But when you think of it, it's mind-blowing just to think about, what are we doing here? Are we really just ants on a speck of dust or a pebble floating through an infinite universe? It seems a little bit too much to comprehend. So it's very difficult to sit there all day and try to figure everything out. And that's why I use that example. So our job is not to figure out everything in life, but our job is to look at it a little bit differently as well and have that infinite flexibility, meaning that I should have said to myself when I was 17, this is what I should have said. And again, this is hard for a teenager. It's hard for anyone at any age, but especially a teenager, right? Especially me, the stubborn, headstrong, ego-based, run-through-walls teenager that I was. Now, did it serve me in some areas? Maybe, but look where it got me when I was 17, burnt out and very sick for many years. So what I should have said was this. I'm sick right now. I don't know the exact way I'm going to get better, but I will get better, and I will continue to move forward on the path of getting well. But at the same time, why did I get sick? What is life trying to teach me? What do I need to take from this experience? That's more of the infinite flexibility, which is the secret to immortality, which is maybe not living forever, but living a life of ease, of moving through life, of no matter where you are, anywhere in time. But again, I have the hindsight now to look back. And all of us do. Think about a struggle in your life. You can look back and you can see how it's benefited you to this day right now, right? So I can look back and say, now, if I had not gone through that, and if I hadn't even stayed sick for that long, I would not have done all the study. I would not have done all the internships. I would not have read all the books, and I would not have dove this deep into all various forms of medicine, not just one form of medicine. And because of that, now I get to do this podcast. I get to have a great health coaching team, and we see people and help people all over the world. I wouldn't get to ship labs to 19 different countries. I wouldn't get to formulate products. I wouldn't get to do all of these things. So had I known that as to why I got sick, I mean, wow, like things would have been a lot different. I would have been like, okay, yes, I'll take the sickness because I can see what's on the other side. But the problem is we have to have faith because we never know. We don't know why it's happening to us in the moment. We don't know why. And a lot of times it can be more challenging than others. So I got sick and it really did fracture and hurt a lot of my relationships. It hurt a lot of my psyche. It did not enable me to play sports anymore. So it hurt a lot of things. It gave me brain fog. It forced me to have to work harder at studying for things like the SATs and even taking them. I mean, when you have a fever and you're sweating and you can't even think straight and you're trying to take your SATs, that's very frustrating, right? Or any exam in college. So what I'm trying to say is this, is that in the moment, we need to have a little bit more softness because what we're going through right now has a lesson in it. But if we're fighting it, if we are that stone or that wrecking ball rather than the water, we're not going to be open enough to be able to figure out what life is trying to show us, what it's trying to teach us. Life is great at helping us learn its lessons. We have to just simply stay more open to it. Even when we get upset, you can ask yourself, why am I getting so upset at this situation? What is it teaching it about me? Why do I have such a conflict with whatever is going on right now in my life? And it's a great one to ask yourself that because I've done this on a previous Mindset and Motivation Monday. But essentially, when you get truly upset at something, life is there holding up a mirror to you. For something that's inside of you, you're getting upset at someone else or some situation because of something most likely you don't like in you. And you see it out there and you know it. It's down there in the subconscious and you don't like it. You don't like what you see and you don't want to become that. You don't want to see that. You don't even want to think about that. I can think about that in my own life as well. It's like, I don't want that. I don't want to, I know that shadow side as in Carl Jung speaks about. And Carl Jung is an amazing psychologist if you've never heard of Carl Jung. And you can see that shadow side is in all of us. It's what we don't necessarily like. But it's okay to accept it. It's okay to be self-aware of it, and it's okay to grow from there. So just things that you can practice in everyday life is this, is that if you get sick or you're currently sick, or if you're having trouble losing the weight, tell yourself this, is that I'm on a mission right now to figure out why I can't, what's going on with my body. I don't have to force it into a timeline. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure it out for a reason because it's going to teach me a lot about my life, my psychology. It's going to teach me about the foods that are right for my body so that I can go on to have this information for the rest of my life. So I'll most likely live a longer, healthier life. And I'll be able to teach this to those in my career, my practice, or my children, or my parents, or siblings, or community, or church, or anything, right? You're going to be able to take that information with you. And that's the amazing thing is because you can't unlearn things. As this journey in life starts to unfold, you learn more and more, and everything starts to make a little bit more sense. The puzzle starts to come together at a much faster rate as well. And that's why don't fight the process. When you're dealing with the sickness, the weight gain, and even the career-based issues, when you don't like your career, I think we've all been there. Now, luckily for me, it was only a couple months after I graduated from school. Tried a couple things and I just realized, there's nothing for me in this life but this health field. Health, fitness, wellness, all of that, all together, it's what I love. But I tried a few things and I said, I understand. Now I know what I do want. And that's why don't get upset even if you went back to school to become an attorney or an accountant. And what you really love doing is helping people in the service of, let's just say, health, right? Well, that's okay because you need to do things in life that will then move you and juxtapose to what you truly do love. And none of it is wasted time. It's not. because you got a perspective now that's unique to you that I won't have, right? If you went back to school to become an attorney and you're now becoming a health coach, you know things that I won't. You know how to deal with people in a different way. You know how to research differently. All of those things, they will serve you. And same with relationships. It's so important, So let's just say you had a date cancel on you and you're so upset. You can look at it a different way. Well, what is this teaching me? Is it teaching me that I'm in a state right now that's more desperate? I feel like I need it and it needs to happen now, rather than you releasing that, letting it go, knowing that you are enough as yourself. Just you alone is enough. When you are enough and you already feel you're enough and you believe that you're enough, you're going to attract someone out there that feels that way about you as well, that they don't try to take advantage of you, that there's someone that respects you for you because you respect yourself. Maybe you just need a little bit more time on your own, or maybe that person canceled because you know what? They weren't right for you anyways. And now you're realizing that. You're realizing that that wasn't a very good excuse and that person probably just isn't the right match for me. And again, these are just a couple of examples that you can go through. Smaller things in life are just this as well. Is like you're on a flight and you're seated next to maybe one of my girls when they were a baby and they were crying on the flight. And you just say, you know what? I'm just going to go with it. I understand that they're a baby, they're upset, maybe their ears are blocked, and you look at it and just say, I'm just going to let it go. Or, for example, I was just in a room the other day, and as this was actually giving a small presentation, and I was happy to do it, and I was invited in, and what we found was that the audio visual wasn't working, so I was just going to have to just speak, which I don't mind doing anyways. But everything was down, like the air conditioning, all that. It was hot, it was stuffy. Everyone could have made a big deal about it. That's the truth. And maybe there were a few people that did, but we just say, aren't we lucky to be able to compare this to always having great air conditioning, to be able to have a great, microphone and AV setup and all of those different things. And so it's just a different way of looking at it in a way that's softer, that's gentler, and that does not take as much energy from you as well. Remember, every time you get upset about something, everything you try to fight against takes energy out of your body. One of the ways that I help people that can't get well is I teach them this. I said, you need to look at everything that you go through in life this way. Not forever, but at least for right now. And you can forever if you'd like. Is that every encounter, whether it's a meal that you're eating, food that you're eating, liquids, relationship, talk, etc., all of those things are either taking your energy out of you or you're bringing energy back in. And so every time you get upset, energy is leaving your body from all that anguish and dislike that you are putting out there. Whereas if you're smiling and relaxed, you are taking energy back in. And when you work with the breath that I've spoken about before, you start to get into a meditative practice or even walking-based meditation. All of these things are great reminders of self-awareness. They cause us to look in. You don't even need to meditate in a special way. It's a time to step back. That's all you're doing. You're focusing back on your breath. You're trying to let the thoughts come in and you're trying to let the thoughts go. You are like the water in that instance. You have that infinite flexibility where if a thought comes in, that's okay. You're not going to fight it. You're just going to allow it to move on. You see what the thoughts are saying and you just allow them to flow down. One of the best analogies to meditation was this, is that the river is always flowing. And along the way, the thoughts come in and the thoughts go out. And the river just keeps on moving down. And it's such a beautiful analogy because water will always find a way around a rock. It will find a way with the currents. It will find a way around a down branch, anything like that. And it does it with relatively ease. It might get caught up for a second, but it moves right around it. So my goal for you is not to sit there all day in meditation, which I know some people, try to do this. I need to meditate more. I need to meditate more. Sure, you can meditate, and I agree with it, and I used to do it a lot more myself. But what I realized was this: meditation is not the answer. It is the state of meditation. It's not the act of meditation, which can do nothing for you. It is the state of meditating. It's the state of self-awareness. It's the state of going within. It's the state of relaxation. What you want to do is not sit in meditation all day, but instead take that meditative practice wherever you go. You want to become more self-aware. When things start to bubble up inside of you, you're already there, self-aware, catching it, just saying, what is this teaching me right now? Why am I getting upset? Will you be perfect? Absolutely not. Am I perfect? Certainly not. I can assure you of that. But what I do is I always try to go back and reassess, see what's going on. And if today is just a bad day, I say, okay, today's a bad day. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to start tomorrow fresh. And every once in a while, I have to do that. It's my reset button and it works great. So what I'm looking for you to do now is understand that not everything in your life is going to go your way. You're going to set your goals. And your goals will revolve around your body transformation and your getting well or your anti-aging. It's going to revolve around career and finance and relationships and spirituality. And all of those are amazing. I do believe that. I believe that we should be goal setting and goal achieving beings. I do believe that because when we do that, we serve so many other people along our path. But here's what else you have to understand is that as you're going along this path, is that it's not a straight line, that there are zigzags, and you're going to encounter things that you won't truly understand at the moment, and that's key. But as you look back, you'll say, I get it. From that, I learned this, and now I can either teach that to others or I can use it in my own life in order to be able to move forward to that next level. Because we do ascend, we do move up in life, and that is truly one of the ways that we become more enlightened, more self-aware, and overall happier because we're not fighting against everything in life. We're using that infinite flexibility. So I just want to give my thanks to Deepak Chopra, Ayurveda, and all of the Vedic-based teachings to truly teach all of us that infinite flexibility is one of the keys and secrets to immortality. Thank you so much for joining me here today on this Motivation and Mindset Monday. Always appreciate your support, your listens, and as always, if this was helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to anyone else you believe it could serve. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.